Hey, it's Katie, and welcome back to my BookTube channel. Today, I will be doing my springtime book recommendations, so I will be telling you guys about some books that give me spring vibes. Usually during springtime, I like to read mostly contemporaries and romance books because spring is really happy with the warm weather and flowers blooming, so I like to read books that give me kind of happy vibes, make me feel really content, give me the sweeter romances. I feel like in the fall and the winter, I go for some darker fantasies, which have some like really dark enemies to lovers and that kind of thing. And this is kind of the opposite. It's more of like the really sweet romances that still give you butterflies, and sometimes it can still have enemies to lovers. Some of these do, but it's more of a tame enemies to lovers, and that's usually what I look for. And I also like books that have some deeper emotional things in them too, because I feel like since it's so happy outside, I can finally handle some more sad emotions. So some of these have darker emotions or sadder emotions as well. Up first, we have Maybe This Time by Casey West, and this follows Sophie, who is the local florist, so she attends all of the big events in her small town. And we also have Andrew, who's the son of the new chef there, and she kind of thinks he's very arrogant and entitled, so she tries to avoid him and just get her job done, but everywhere she looks and every event she goes to, he's right there, and you kind of get to see them develop a friendship and maybe something a little more. But this one gives me spring vibes, probably at first because of the cover. It's this girl on her bike and she has flowers in the basket with a flower crown, and also each little chapter in here has flowers or some kind of foliage like that. So I feel like that kind of gives me spring vibes in itself because of the flowers. But this also is just a very sweet romance. It starts off as a very tame enemies to lovers. They kind of annoy each other, but you get to see it blossom into a sweeter relationship, and I love that. And it's also really a fun setting because it takes place over the course of a year, and it's at 9 different events. So they're very different circumstances that they meet, and it's just very adorable. It's a very feel-good romance. I feel like Casey West always does a great job of writing some really fun, humorous characters. So you get that too. And just the main vibe of this is very happy, and it's all about them potentially finding love. So it feels a lot like spring for me. The next book I'm going to tell you guys about is Tweet Cute by Emma Lord. And this is a food-filled romance, which I love. And it follows Pepper and Jack, which, first off, I love that that's like a cheese pun already. It goes with the story for sure. But Pepper is this girl whose family owns this burger chain, and her parents kind of expect her to help out and run the Twitter account for their chain. And then we have Jack, whose family owns this local deli, and he also has to work there after school. His family expects him to help out there. And one day, the burger chain starts with this new grilled cheese recipe, and Jack is like, wait a minute, that's basically the exact same grilled cheese recipe that my grandma created that we've served at this deli for years. And so he tweets at the burger chain, and it starts this Twitter war. And it's really fun to see the banter with these tweets. It's really entertaining. And these two are also, they go to the same school, so they see each other at all these school events, but they don't realize that the other person is the person they've been tweeting at. So it's just a really fun scenario. There's a lot of great banter and sarcasm, and it makes me laugh. It makes me really happy because you get all of the food, and Pepper also really loves to bake with her sister, so you get a lot of the baking too. I feel like any story that involves a lot of food, cooking or baking, anything like that, feels very spring to me. I'm not quite sure why. I think just because food makes me happy, and spring is just a happy time, but a lot of these have some kind of food element to them. So that's definitely a big part in this book, which is fun, and it's just a very feel-good story. So if you're looking for that, definitely pick this one up. The next one is Instant Karma by Marissa Meyer, and this is one of my favorite contemporaries. It follows Prue, who is this chronic overachiever, and one day she wakes up with this ability to cast instant karma on those around her, except she can't seem to make it work with her main enemy, basically, which is her lab partner, Quint. And Quint actually works at this rescue center for local sea animals, and Prue needs some extra credit in one of her classes, so they end up working together at this rescue center, and it's just really funny to watch them have to work together through all these different scenarios because Quint is kind of in his element at this center because it's a place that he cares about. It's where his mom kind of works as well, so it's always been in the family, and he's in his element, and for once, Prue is kind of unsure of what to do, and so it's fun to see them work together and all the awkward moments that happen, but it's very endearing and fun, and you get a lot of the animals in here, which is such a sweet element, and also it talks a lot about caring about the environment and how to save these sea animals, so I feel like that's very fitting since Earth Day is in April, so that kind of fits the spring vibe as well. My next spring recommendation is A Taste for Love by Jennifer Yen, and this follows Liza, who is part of an Asian American family, and her mom is always trying to set her up with eligible guys, and her family also owns this bakery, diner type thing. I don't really know how to describe it, but they do food things. And her mom always runs this baking competition every year. And so she asks her daughter Liza to help her out with the competition this year. And so Liza agrees. She doesn't really think anything of it. But when she walks in on the first day, she realizes that every single contestant is an eligible man that her mother has handpicked for her. And so it's basically kind of like The Bachelorette, but with a ton of baking. So it's so cute, and there's so many awkward moments. It's adorable. But I just love it so much because you get all these cool, like, relationships because of the competition, but she also has some really great friends that give input as well, and you get her trying to figure out her relationship with her mom because obviously that upsets her with the competition, but they kind of have to figure out how to find common ground. So you get all of the familial relationships as well, and ultimately you get to learn about what Asian parents could expect for their children and those kinds of traditions. So there's that element. It's a much deeper element to this fun story. But if you love The Bachelorette, The Bachelor, or any kind of baking show that you can find on Netflix or anything like that, I feel like this would be for you. It's such a fun story, again, filled with food, and it just is really entertaining and really fun, and I feel like it could be a very great movie or TV show. The next one is probably the most emotional out of all of these books I'm recommending to you today, and that is Meet Cute by Helena Hunting. This follows Kaylin, who on her first day of law school runs literally right into an actor she's had a crush on through all her teenage years. And she finds out that this actor, Daxton, is in a lot of her law classes, and they end up kind of forming this friendship and always being against each other when they do debates and that kind of thing. But at the end of their law school career, he ends up screwing her over and betraying her, basically. And so she's kind of held a grudge for all of these years. And this story takes place, I think, 8 years later, and Daxton walks into her law firm and asks for her help because he just became the legal guardian to his 13-year-old sister. And so even though she has this grudge, she sees how desperate and how devastated he is and decides to help him. And it's just such an emotional story. I actually listened to the audiobook, so that might have impacted my experience as well. But this is told from dual perspectives, so you really get to see both sides, and just hearing about like all the grief that Daxton is going through and how hard it is for him to now be a legal guardian after not really being too involved in his sister's life. It's really endearing. It's really sad, and it almost made me cry, which I feel like I've said a few times. I don't usually cry when I read, and for some reason, this just made me really, really emotional just to think about this situation, and it was just really emotional, but it was also a really sweet and beautiful story. You got to see these two people who cared about each other in college reunite, and even though there were some things they needed to work through, you got to see them kind of rebuild their friendship and their relationship, and it was just really sweet to see them interact. It was like an adorable romance, and seeing Kaylin and Daxton together was always fun, but also seeing them interact with Daxton's little sister was probably one of my favorite parts, because they just seemed like such this sweet, happy family. And it just was great. And there's also a lot of awkward, hilarious moments because Daxton's not really sure how to deal with his younger sister. And so there's a lot of things where Kaylin needs to give her advice, and it just made me laugh also. So it's like a roller coaster of emotions, but I feel like for some reason it just feels like spring. You get those emotions that I feel like are easier to handle when it's sunny outside, but you also get those awkward, hilarious things that you get to laugh through. So it's very sweet. This is one of the more recent ones that I've read, so I still just can't stop smiling when I'm thinking about it. I haven't heard too many people talk about it, but you should definitely give it a chance. It's just really great. We are on to the last spring recommendation, and that is A Cuban Girl's Guide to Teen Tomorrow by Laura Taylor Namey. This story follows Leela, who has the perfect plan. She's going to take over the role of head baker from her abuela. She's going to move in with her best friend and live happily ever after with her boyfriend. But all of a sudden, the trifecta happened, and all of these plans come crumbling down. And her parents are really concerned for her mental health, so they send her to England to spend some time with family and to kind of relax and reset. And that's really the last thing she wants to do. She loves Miami, which is where her family lives, and all she wants to do is find a way back there. But while she's in England, she meets Orion, who is a tea shop clerk, and he kind of assigns himself as her tour guide. And so they go on all these adventures around the English countryside, and it's just really adorable. And she is a baker, so there's a lot of food in this one as well, which you could probably see a theme. But she's always cooking for him, and she finds her place in England where she's cooking for the little hotel inn type thing that she's staying at, and it's just adorable. It also gives you wanderlust because they go on all these really sweet adventures, and it makes you want to go to England, but it's just very sweet vibes because they both care about each other. They're both dealing with these deeper things from their past, and they both need to find a way to cope with them and kind of heal from them, and they both offer each other that. I'm not officially done with this yet. I'm about 200 pages in, so I'm more than halfway done, but I'm loving it so far. Also, this cover kind of screams spring. They're having this little picnic outside in this little scenic area, and it's just so adorable. This one is a relatively new book. I feel like it came out sometime this year, so I haven't heard too many people talking about it, but it came out in 2020. Okay. But it is just adorable. That's all I can say. That's like the only word I feel like is fitting. You get all of those sweet treats, and you get her Cuban culture, which is a really fun element. You see them deal with the more emotional parts of their lives, and it's just a feel-good story, which, again, is what spring means to me. It's just, it fits spring very well. Sorry, I'm rambling. I haven't really gathered my thoughts with this one yet because, again, I'm not finished with it, but I'm obsessed, and you should definitely pick this one up because it's so cute. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed some of my springtime book recommendations. If you end up picking any of these up, please let me know in the comments. These are some of my favorite contemporaries and romances, so I would love to talk to you guys about them. But please like this video and subscribe to my channel. It would literally make my day. And if you do subscribe, click the notification bell so you know when I upload next. Thank you guys so much for watching. I can't wait to see you in my next video.